everybody, my name is Fran and today I'm going to give you an introduction to Unit 2J, A Nation Divided, circa 1845 to 1877. This is a unit that looks at the American Civil War, and the purpose of this PowerPoint is to introduce you to the content that we study and how this unit is assessed. In terms of first year content then, we look at the causes of the American Civil War. Our starting point is America circa 1845, circa meaning around the time of. Here we look at the northern and southern states comparatively, politically, economically and socially. From there we look at westward expansion. What are northern and southern attitudes to westward expansion, and how does America expand into the west? With westward expansion is going to come sectional tension between the north and the south. In light of this, there will be attempts at political compromise. We will look at the nature of these compromises, whether they pass through the American government, but ultimately why they fail. Into the second half of first year, we look at concepts such as abolitionism. Why does abolitionism increase in the north? How does the south react to abolitionism? And then towards the end of first year, we look at the emergence of the Republican Party, in particular the election of Abraham Lincoln, which will lead to secession of the southern states and the war itself. First year content ends with Fort Sumter, which is commonly known as the start of the American Civil War. So in the second year of the course, what we look at is the war itself and then Reconstruction, which is the period after the war where the North and South try to come back together as a single country. Our starting point is the context going into the war, so we compared the Union and the Confederacy. Who has the better military resources? Who has the better leadership? Ultimately, going into this war, who's got the better chance of winning? We then look at key battles during the war. We don't look at all of the battles, there are hundreds and it would take years in itself to study properly. So we take a series of battles and look at them one by one in chronological order. When we're analysing these battles, what we are looking at is, are there any key turning points in the war? Are there any particular reasons why the Union wins? Are there any particular reasons why the Confederacy loses? Once we've finished looking at the war itself, we move on to a period called Reconstruction. We look at Reconstruction under the presidents of Lincoln, Johnson and Grant. Under Lincoln it's quite short due to his assassination, so the bulk of the time is spent looking at Johnson's Reconstruction and then Grant's Reconstruction. Again, within these areas we look at politics, we look at the economy and we look at social issues, and the end point we get to are some quite big questions concerning Reconstruction. Has it done what it set out to do? Has the position of African Americans ultimately changed from kind of exiting the war? And in a nutshell, why does Reconstruction fail? Why doesn't this vision work out? In terms of how this unit is assessed, there is one exam at the end of the second year. That exam is 2.5 hours long and is made up of primary sources and essays. The next two slides will go over how the assessment works in a little bit more detail. So the first section of the America exam is made up of primary sources, so sources from the time. There will be 3 sources in the America exam, but they will all be on the same topic. So you will not get 3 sources from 3 different areas of the course. They will all be on the same topic. And therefore, there will be one question asking you about all 3 of them. That question is going to ask you how valuable those sources are. Now at GCSE, the word useful is often used. So we've got a different word here, and that is the word we need to be looking at in terms of analysing primary sources. How valuable are they? By value, what we mean is how much insight does a primary source give you into the topic given. There are different ways of looking at value. We can look at the provenance of a source. Where does a source come from? Who is the author? When was it published? Who is the audience? What is the type of source? And what is its purpose? We can also look at the tone of a source. We can look at the mood conveyed. How do people feel in this source? And how representative is that of how other people were feeling at the time? Finally, we can look at the arguments presented in the source. Is what is being said in the source true? Is it an opinion that is shared by other people, or is that opinion perhaps restricted to a certain group? With all of these questions, we're trying to get to an end point of how valuable is this source overall? Does it help us learn about the topic given in the question, or is it quite limited in the understanding we can gain? We look at the primary sources separately. The question does not ask us to compare. So we look at each source's value individually and come to a conclusion on each source individually. In the second half of the America exam are the essays. On the exam there will be 3, but you will only answer 2, and you get complete choice on which 2 you answer. There are no restrictions. Each question is worth 25 marks, and you will have 45 minutes per essay, which is an hour and a half for the 2 essays you will answer. Whilst there are some similarities to GCSE, in that your answer should be balanced, have a for and against, and come to a conclusion, there are actually quite a lot of differences in how you approach A-level history essays. Introductions are going to be vital, and we teach you how to structure an effective introduction. You will need to have at least 3 points on each side, which makes these answers substantially longer than they would be at GCSE. And the top candidates will have their answer running throughout their response. In their introduction, they will make clear what their answer is to the question. Their main body paragraphs will maintain that judgment, and therefore when you get to the conclusion, the answer given is not much of a surprise to the reader. Whilst A-level responses are quite different, we do spend the 2 years building up your skills and ability to answer these effectively. Thank you for listening to this introduction on Unit 2J, A Nation Divided. Make sure you subscribe to Alan History Nerd to keep up with all the latest videos added. Thank you!
Hi everybody, huge thanks to Fran for that really good video, giving you an insight into that Unit 2. Don't forget there's loads of extra stuff all over the channel. So there's politics stuff if you're interested in politics stuff. There's other stuff on this unit going through all the detail, and there's loads of the content in there. All the Year 1 content that Fran talks about is on there already, and a beginning of the second year content. There's also a start of the stuff on the Tudors, and there's an introduction to the Tudors, and there's a video on Henry VII to look at as well. And there's also some Russian videos, and there will eventually be some British videos on there as well. So thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the channel, subscribe, watch loads of the different videos, and get yourselves ready for some real success in your A-levels or whatever else it is you're doing. Thank you very much, guys. See you all soon.